When we think about the future of the internet, that whole immersive world of AR and VR they call the metaverse, our minds usually jump straight to Silicon Valley, right? But there's this whole other race happening far away from California, where a new set of global powers are doing more than just logging on. They're building entirely new digital realities. And trust me, their blueprints look very, very different from what we're used to seeing.
I mean, we all know the usual suspects. Meta CTO has made it crystal clear the pressure is absolutely on. We've seen them pushing out products like the Ray-Ban smart glasses, trying to weave their tech into our daily lives. They, along with giants like Apple and Google, are pouring billions into building this future. But what if that's only half the story? What if the future of this immersive tech is less of one big global village and, well, more like a collection of separate, distinct digital nations? This is where our story really kicks off, because a powerful new bloc is officially entering the game. So we're talking about the BRICS nations: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Together, they represent over 40% of the entire world's population. And they're not just sitting back waiting to consume this new technology. No way. They're stepping up to become the architects of their own digital worlds, each one with its own completely unique vision. Okay, so to really get what they're doing, let's quickly get on the same page with a key term: extended reality, or XR. It's basically the catch-all phrase for everything from fully immersive virtual reality, that's VR, to augmented reality, or AR, which adds digital layers onto the world around you. Think Pokemon Go, but, for everything else.
And this is where you can see just how different their playbooks are. China is like the grand planner, using a top-down national strategy to bake XR into its entire economy. India's playing the role of the ecosystem builder, positioning itself to be a massive hub for content and talent. Russia? It's the digital sovereign, looking at XR through the lens of national security and control. Meanwhile, Brazil is pioneering this tech in the classroom, and South Africa is using it to modernize its core industries. The big takeaway here? This isn't one single movement. It's 5 different revolutions, all happening at the same time.
And let's be clear, these aren't just ideas floating around in a government report. These national strategies are being backed by some serious cash and very concrete actions. They're turning these policy blueprints into actual digital bricks. Just look at India. In just one state, Madhya Pradesh, the government has earmarked over $240 million for its XR policy. This is not some small-scale experiment. It's a massive, strategic investment designed to build a global hub for digital content creation, literally from the ground up. So what does $240 million actually get you? Well, it gets you a whole ecosystem. They're funding the whole shebang, from theme parks and content studios to incubators designed to nurture new startups. The goal is pretty obvious: create a self-sustaining hub that can churn out the next generation of virtual content for everything from gaming to blockbuster films. And all this investment is creating a fascinating new competitive landscape. On one side, you've got the household names: Meta, Apple, Google. But on the other, you've got this new roster of powerful local champions rising up within the BRICS nations themselves. We're talking about companies like Huawei and Tencent in China, plus a whole wave of Indian studios and even Russian hardware makers. And you see the same pattern playing out across the entire bloc, with each nation tailoring its approach. China is weaving XR right into its national tech fabric, alongside 5G and AI. Russia is pushing hard to build its own hardware to cut down its reliance on foreign tech. South Africa is fostering a startup scene for practical stuff, like AR in retail and VR for job training. And Brazil's huge gaming industry is starting to pivot towards making XR content. Every single move is a calculated step towards digital independence. But this isn't just about industry or economics, The real story is how this technology is starting to pop up in our daily lives, in schools, in museums, at cultural sites. This is where those big national priorities start to feel personal. Just look at the impact it's having on education. In Brazil, they're actually rolling out augmented reality kits to help science teachers explain really complex things, like how a cell works. India is pushing AR apps for STEM subjects, while South Africa is using VR to train its next generation of doctors and miners in super realistic but perfectly safe simulations. It's an amazing tool for learning. And it's not just about building the future, it's also about preserving the past. BRICS nations are using XR to digitize their incredible heritage.
Imagine virtually walking through India's ancient cave sanctuaries and seeing them exactly as they were 1,000 years ago. Or watching ancient artifacts in a Chinese museum magically reassemble themselves right in front of your eyes. It makes history something you can almost touch. Now, the engine that's powering all of this is a deep, serious investment in research. In both India and China, you're seeing these powerful collaborations form between universities, the government, and private startups. They're creating this incredible feedback loop of innovation that's designed to invent the next generation of XR technology. So, what does this all add up to? What does it all mean for the future? Well, it means we're not heading towards a single, giant, monolithic metaverse that's dominated by one country or one company. The future of the immersive internet, it's going to be multipolar. And this, right here, is the key takeaway. The BRICS nations are not just passively adopting technology, they are actively shaping it, bending it, and molding it to fit their own unique national priorities. This isn't about everyone plugging into one global system. It's about building distinct digital worlds, each with its own rules, its own values, and its own purpose. And if you want a perfect, powerful example of that idea in action, look at this. A Russian think tank has proposed creating its own gaming platform, a so-called Steam killer, with the explicit goal of making sure that all the content aligns with what they define as national morality. That is a crystal clear move away from Western platforms and toward a walled-off, self-contained digital sphere. Which, of course, leaves us with a fascinating and, frankly, a critical question. As all these parallel digital realities start to take shape, each with different values coded right into their foundations, who gets to write the rules? And more importantly, what happens when these different worlds eventually start to collide?